How's it going, everyone? My name is Warren and welcome to my new segment on my channel called Theory Thursdays. Each week I get sent a ton of theories from you all and I love it, whether that be on my email address, in the comments of some of my videos, or on my Instagram or Twitter. And a lot of them are really good, and I see sometimes in the comment sections that you enjoy reading other people's theories. So this segment that I will be doing every Thursday is going to be all about you all and the theories that you come up with. I thought this would be a pretty cool way for me to interact with you all, and for you all to interact with each other, but it's also going to be a fun competition. So I'll explain to you how Theory Thursdays are going to work, and of course I'll put the instructions in the description down below. So if you have a theory of your own and you want it to possibly end up on a Theory Thursday segment, all you have to do is email it to me in the email in my description, cosmictheorythursdays@gmail.com. From each one submitted, I will choose about 5 to 10 to talk about each week. Then, after you watch the video, comment down below with which theory you thought was the best. I'll number each theory so you can just comment on the number and why you thought it was the best. The theory with the most votes will win that week. Then, at the end of the month, out of all the theories that won, you'll choose which one you like the most and they will win the overall month and a prize. Right now, the prize will be an IMAX gift card so you and a friend can go see Captain Marvel or Avengers Endgame or whatever you want in theaters. And obviously, a shout out. So, that's how my new segment, Theory Thursday, is going to work. I have some submitted for this week already that I'll be talking about, but be sure to submit yours to have a chance to end up on next week's Theory Thursday. Okay, so theory number 1 comes from Jillian Brooke. So Jillian says that in the comics, Nebula gets the gauntlet from Thanos, undoes the snap, and then all of the heroes come back. And this is true. If you read the Infinity Gauntlet series, this is exactly what happens. But she goes on to state that she does not think Marvel will do this in the MCU to bring the characters back. She says that the Russo brothers have worked too hard to protect the secrets of Endgame, so it doesn't make sense for the plot to be something fans already know. And this is true as well. The Russo brothers have come out and said that they're not going to do what happened in the comics because we do in fact already know the story then. And here's where the life swap theory comes into play and how her theory adds to that theory. She goes on to say that it's fair to say that every character who survived the snap is either a new character or has lost a loved one or friend at some point. Thor lost Loki, Tony lost Peter Parker, Captain America lost Bucky, Nebula, Gamora, Okoye, T'Challa, Rocket, Groot, etc, etc. So her theory states that each character will see her loved one who passed away, much like in Deadpool 2. She says that this will happen inside of the Soul Stone. Cap will switch with Bucky, then afterwards we get a beautiful shot of Cap walking into a ballroom and dancing with Peggy, and it's not fake this time. So we will get a heart-throbbing interaction with all of the characters as we say goodbye to the first phase of heroes and make way for the newbies to take charge of the MCU. She also adds that Pepper Potts was totally about to tell Tony that he's going to be a father. Peter was already like a son to Tony, so this would make Tony's switch with Peter even more heartbreaking because it's like Tony is choosing to stay alive for one son or die for the other. So that's it for Jillian's theory. This theory definitely has some merits behind it, and honestly, if we're going to lose some heroes in Avengers Endgame, it would be nice if they went out in a really nice way, sacrificing themselves for loved ones and also getting a really happy ending like she mentioned the happy ending for Cap going back with Peggy Carter. So that's theory number 1. Going on to theory number 2. Theory number 2 comes from user Gleaming Dust. The theory states that Ant-Man gets sucked into a time vortex. Once he gets out of the time vortex, he goes to the Avengers headquarters and finds out that he's actually in the wrong time. I agree with this. I definitely think that Ant-Man is going to go into a time vortex and come out in the wrong time. Once he gets out and realizes that he's in the wrong time, he goes and finds Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne to figure out how to travel through time vortexes. Once he figures it out, he goes back to the present time and finds the remaining Avengers. From there, using time travel, the Avengers will go back to the Battle of New York and begin to change the events of the past. And Captain America will come up with a plan to get the Mind Stone from Loki. This theory makes a lot of sense. Ant-Man is stuck in the quantum realm right now. He obviously has to get out somehow, and it could be through a time vortex. After all, they did mention it in the post-credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp. And it makes sense to go back to the Battle of New York and get the Mind Stone from Loki. So that's theory number 2. Now on to theory number 3. Theory number 3 comes from a 16-year-old living in India named Daksh. And by the way, I'm very sorry if I pronounce anyone's name wrong. Daksh's theory is very simple and to the point. Tony Stark will have to make a very big sacrifice similar to the one that he did in the first Avengers film. And he will also create a suit that lets him wield all of the Infinity Stones. I definitely think that in one way or another, the sacrifice part is true. And I also think that Tony Stark will indeed have to make a suit that's capable of wielding all of the Infinity Stones. Even though Thanos completely destroyed the Avengers in Avengers Infinity War, I still think that people underestimate just how strong he is. You have to be a being of incredible power to even wield just one Infinity Stone. In fact, in Infinity War, Ebony Maw says that nobody has ever wielded more than one Infinity Stone. Thanos was the first person. So it's not like somebody can just throw on the Infinity Gauntlet and undo the snap. They won't be strong enough to handle it. But if Tony can somehow create a suit that harnesses and distributes the power of the Infinity Stones, perhaps he could survive the power of the stones and undo the snap. But even if Tony did undo the snap, I still don't think he'd be powerful enough to survive the power it takes to perform the snap, therefore sacrificing himself to save the universe. So I do think that Tony is going to have to make some sort of sacrifice in Avengers Endgame, and he could possibly make a suit to wield all of the Infinity Stones. Moving on to theory number 4. Theory number 4 comes from user Infinity Ewok. His theory states that Tony and Nebula lose all hope, but Captain Marvel arrives and leads them to a collapsing neutron star inside of an Einstein-Rosen bridge, much like the Devil's Anus in Thor Ragnarok. This will take them only a short distance from Earth, and then Pepper Potts will come and save them in her rescue armor. Tony gets back to Earth, and meanwhile Steve, Natasha, Bruce, Thor, Rhodey, and Rocket are at the Avengers compound. Scott arrives and he is let in. Once he finds out about the snap, he tells them that he was stuck inside of the quantum realm and escaped through a time vortex. From here, they will try to figure out time travel. But during this time, Black Widow goes off to find Hawkeye in Japan. She finds him and he says how his family was lost in the snap and that he left to talk with sacred people. Similar to how Doctor Strange became a sorcerer, but instead of the ability to manipulate energy, Clint can now identify Skrulls and other aliens that are impersonating humans. I think that in this theory there are a lot of things that can happen. Captain Marvel is definitely one of the people who could rescue Tony Stark. If they are super far away from home, which it seems like they are, the Einstein-Rosen bridge could definitely be a way to get them closer to Earth, and we've already seen leaked photos of Pepper Potts in her rescue armor, so I think it's safe to assume that she'll wear it at some point in time in Avengers Endgame. The last part about Hawkeye somehow being able to detect Skrulls is very interesting. We know that he goes to Japan to hunt down the Yakuza. There's been talk that the reason he's going to Japan to hunt down the Yakuza is because they are in fact Skrulls. But how does he know who the Skrulls are? Well, maybe he does get the power to be able to detect who they are. Weirder things have happened. Now on to the last theory, theory number 5. The last theory comes from user Captain Byler. The theory states that in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, the Guardians get arrested. They show all the Guardians one by one, showing facts based on their criminal records and where Star-Lord did his iconic middle finger crank.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know how this machine worked.
What a bunch of a-holes. Transport all 4 to the kiln.
When they show Gamora, they state that she was the last one of her species. In the Infinity War movie, Thanos is said to have killed half of the population. Why would Marvel make a mistake about her storyline? The theory is that Gamora will actually have her own storyline, much like past movies like Ant-Man and Captain America. They might show the relationship between Gamora and Nebula and how Gamora became an assassin, or even how her people may have done the same exact thing the Avengers are doing now, getting revenge on Thanos. This is actually something that people have been wondering since Avengers Infinity War came out. Like Captain Byler stated, in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, they say that Gamora is the last of her species. But in Infinity War, we see that Thanos actually only killed half of the population, and he even says that the planet is now a paradise and is thriving. The Russo brothers actually did a Q&A with Collider where one fan brought this to their attention and asked what the deal was. The Russo brothers actually replied, "Who do you believe, Thanos or Gamora?" So they implied that one of them is lying. Perhaps Gamora will get her own storyline, maybe in Avengers Endgame or in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, or maybe even in a separate movie altogether. Thanos went planet to planet and killed half of the populations of these planets without any warning whatsoever. You have to imagine that out of all the many planets that he visited, eventually one of them would seek revenge against him, and perhaps that could be Gamora's home planet. So maybe there is a story arc that we are missing here, but may see later on down the road in the MCU. So, those are all the theories for today's Theory Thursday. Be sure to vote on your favorite one by commenting the number of the one that you like the most. And of course, if you have a theory that you came up with yourself and would like to submit, email it to me in the Theory Thursday email address down below. Again, I did this so I could interact with you all more and so you could all interact with each other more. So please try to be kind when you're commenting on other people's theories. We're all here for the same reason, because we love Marvel, we love DC, and all things related to superheroes. Let me know what you think about this new segment and let me know which theory you thought was the best. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all Theory Thursdays and so you can stay up to date on everything related to Marvel and DC. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.